is it intrinsic? Is it natural, or is it something that really needs to be worked on?
I think, like most things in life, I think you really need to work on it. You really need to be intentional about working on it. I don't personally don't believe anyone's born with a mindset to grow. I think it's your surroundings. I think it's you're influenced by your community. But you can also create your community. You could always take yourself out of a situation and put yourself in a field that allows you to sort of growing up in relation to that mindset. I think for me, having a growth mindset, you have to understand where you want to go. You have to understand yourself. You have to understand what this is going to bring to you. You need to understand how important it is that you achieve this goal, you know? And when we're talking about growth, it's very, very important that people don't look at what they can achieve in 10 years time, in 1 year time, but also look at what they can achieve in a longer period of time as well. Because when you force things too much, because you set yourself a small, in terms of time scale, if you set yourself to achieve certain things in a year's time, what you see is that you're forcing so many things. But actually give yourself a little bit of a bit wider time frame and say maybe 5 years, you can achieve a lot more during that time. You can also take a lot more care in that time to achieve those goals. So for me, I definitely say reading. I definitely say take yourself to certain events that push for that. There's so many there's so many talks that you can sort of go to that will ensure that you're surrounded by like-minded individuals. Because actually, that's just what it is. You know, if you're surrounded by people that speak a certain way, act a certain way, and have a mentality that operates in a certain way, you're gonna find that you're maneuvering in that way as well. So that's what I would say. It is. I don't think anything's intrinsic. I think I was speaking to you the other day and I said something about kids, and this is a different topic, but we'll come back to it. But about kids and how their outside influences essentially shape their thought of themselves within the first 12 years of their lives. You know, the first 12 years of children's lives, they don't know anything. They only believe who they are based on what people have told them. And that's their parents, the aunties and uncles that come to themselves. So their sort of self-judgment is based on what people around them have told them that they're worth. So that's essentially the same thing growing up as an adult. You know, when you want to be something, put yourself in that position. It's a function of intention and action. It's a function of those two things. Your intention is to be better and the action is to put yourself in better places. That's just my perspective anyway. Well, that's a really good question.
I think for me, the beginning of having a growth mindset is having goals. You'll be surprised how many people don't have goals. Even now, coming to the end of 2024, just setting some goals for what you want to achieve in 2025. I think that's the basics, having goals and then understanding how can I get there. So in order for you to get to those goals, you break them down into actionable steps or milestones.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I was going to say I disagree because I feel like everyone's got a goal and everyone's got a dream.
No, I don't think everyone's got goals, bro. You'll be surprised. You can speak to people and you can
How do you define goals? Because I feel like you guys are talking about the same thing but defining it differently.
So a goal is an objective that you want to get to.
Okay.
It's somewhere you want to get to.
Do you feel like you're talking about objectives? Like having those objectives in
I want
place?
to attain this or that.
So you're
but perhaps because I think that way, I assume everyone else has goals. But I do feel you because not everyone.
Some people are just living for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Some people are just
is that such a bad thing?
I think having a growth mindset, you need to know where you want to go. You need to have some sort of.
Because then you're just surviving, not excelling.
Yeah, you need to have a roadmap.
Perspective again, though, innit? Like, just going back to that, though, just living till tomorrow, living for tomorrow. Is that such a bad thing? I'm just asking the question. Is it such a bad thing?
I think, that should be your bread and butter. So as long as you can survive, then what's the next step?
So if I was to argue that actually me living to tomorrow is relinquishing some sort of control and power, and I'm trying to look after my mental health by not thinking too far ahead based on the things that you have said personally in terms of like just sort of not looking back too much and just control in general. If I say I'm just living till tomorrow and stuff like that, isn't that me essentially doing what we spoke about earlier on, which is letting go of control and allowing life to do as life wants to do? It's just devil's advocate and just...
I think both can coexist.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but living for tomorrow, what do you want to do? Like, what does your tomorrow include? You know, you got to have a plan for tomorrow, or tomorrow is going to take control of you. If you don't have a plan for what you want tomorrow to be, then the world's just it's gonna give you what the
But
world's
then,
gonna give you.
in the same breath, you have a bad day, you have a bad week. You rest assured, this is just a blip, and I'm gonna get back to preparing for this or that. It's not the end of the world, but I'm en route. So I think both can coexist.
Yeah, and I think having goals just keeps you grounded.
100%, man. I think goals in itself is the graduation of achievement as well. I think having something to say, do you know what, well done, like you've done this. Sometimes we don't graduate ourselves a little achievements, and I think when we set such a massive goal, because our goals are massive, it's the objectives that make it look smaller, which is fine because the objectives are what makes the goals attainable. But sometimes you get lost in the work. Sometimes you get lost in that journey of trying to get to the next one. I'll ask you guys a question. How often do you guys actually look back and say, do you know what? I've done this. Well done, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, how often do you do that? But if you were coaching other people, if you were training other people, you have staff, how often do you do that to them? You know, if you could answer the question, how often do you graduate yourselves?
Sorry, go Daps.
No, I have certain rituals that I do. So every week I journal daily, and then every week I reflect on the week going into the next week. So that allows me to reflect on my previous week. And then obviously going into the end of the month as well, I should do it more, but I'll reflect on the month. And then obviously at the end of the year, I'll reflect on the year and just kind of like reflect. I think reflection is just kind of thinking about where you've been and where you are today, and any lessons that you can take from, you know, from the stuff you've been through to apply it to the future. So I do try to do that.
Okay, how about you, Dutch? In terms of how often do you graduate yourselves?
I think I'm my own worst enemy, so I find it easier to graduate those around me, but then I'm very hypercritical on my own achievements. But that is problematic because it's important to take stock and realize, oh, you've achieved X, Y, and Z. Isn't that great? Like, don't overdo it, don't stress it. And it's cool to just say, you know what, well done, be in the moment, because I think I've been guilty of next thing, and not really taking stock. So, but I think for your question, it's equally as important to graduate those around you.
Yeah, and I think it is. I think I was just trying to like build that relationship up, and just I want people to investigate that relationship a little bit more, that relationship with yourself, and how much it's easy for us to say to somebody, do you know what, well done, mate. Do you know what I mean? Even when people are done and they don't see that they've achieved, they don't believe they've achieved that much. But us looking from outside, do you know what? Like, you've done a lot, man. Like, well done. But then how often do we speak to ourselves with a loving tone? How often do we say to ourselves, do you know what, mate? Like, 6 months ago and where you are now are two different places. Well done. It can be something as little as being able to sleep properly and having a good, healthy amount of hours when you sleep. It can be something as, do you know what, you're going to the gym a lot more, like you always wanted to. You're achieving the goals that you actually put your mind to. And what I tend to find in conversations with people is people almost hate themselves. People almost hate themselves because of the tone and the language that they use to themselves. It's not the healthiest because they wouldn't use it to other people, but it's important to be conscious about that. And we're very solution-based, so it's how to move on from that and to better yourself. But I particularly like your thing where you say you journal every so often, because it's very important. I think it's very, very important. I've got a diary as well that I always look back on.
Just going back to what you said about the negative self-talk, I feel like we all have self-limiting beliefs. Obviously, they come through childhood, from like school or parents. But I think it's important to identify what your self-limiting beliefs are and eliminate them. You know, that will help you to get closer to where you want to go, because those things that you're telling yourself are stopping you from doing certain things or making you move at a certain pace. But when you can identify, this is a self-limiting belief, or I'm not good at this, or I'm not a great speaker, I'm not this. It's not necessarily true, but if you tell yourself something, you're going to believe it. You know, so identifying what that is and telling yourself different things. Another ritual I have is like I do affirmations. So just saying like, I am great. God loves me. Little things like that every day. That's me now redefining myself, my belief systems. Because your beliefs, you can only grow and be as big as your belief systems. If you can't identify, or if you're telling yourself certain things, you're not gonna grow above what you're telling yourself you are.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. I think the self-limiting beliefs are huge, and it's crazy because it's almost, that voice is almost louder than the positive ones growing up, because it's what we're around. But yeah, once again, just being intentional about debunking that idea and redefining yourself to yourself by yourself is very, very important. So yeah, I love that. I mean, we can say it. Go on.
I was just going to say, going back to goals, I think, like I said, I made the assumption that most people have goals, but I feel like people then set SMART goals. Remember, we learned that one in school: specific, measurable,
achievable, related,
Is it realistic?
realistic, and then time
relative, or
constraint.
something.
And I think another thing hindering people from reaching their goals is a lack of discipline. I don't think that word is understood, or the manifestation of that word is understood enough, because when I reflect to myself, and I think sometimes you could be more disciplined in this area. I don't know, like how consistently you train, you go to the gym. If you want to see real, like, positive effects, you're going to have to be more consistent and train hard.